After years of trial and error, I've developed a design process that has doubled my referral rate with clients, and it has nothing to do with my design skills. Instead, my design process is based on a criteria that I call SEO. This criteria has helped me to create a positive and lasting impression on my clients during the design process, which in turn has led to existing clients helping me attract new ones. Let me show you how I've incorporated these principles into my design process. So first we have the inquiry stage. So a prospect visits my website and fills out the inquiry form, providing context on their project, including their budget and desired deliverables. Now, by having the prospect fill out a form in order to work with me, I'm able to save time by filtering out unserious inquiries, collect useful and refined information about the project, and create a professional first impression. After reviewing the inquiry and determining that the project is a good fit, I send them an email using a pre-made template with a link to book a discovery call. Now, I aim to do this within 24 hours while the lead is still warm, meaning they're highly interested in purchasing my services. Now, this approach increases the likelihood that the prospect will commit to the next stage of the process, which in marketing is known as a low effort buy-in. By getting the prospect to invest their time, they subconsciously commit to the project, and this smart tactic elevates my lead from warm to hot. So during the discovery call, I accomplish 3 important things. First, I get to know the client and start building a relationship, which helps establish trust. Second, I gather more context about their business and its current situation. This involves asking about their problems and challenges. Now, the more information I receive here, the better I can tailor my services as solutions in the project proposal. And then finally, I discuss pricing to ensure that the prospect and I are on the same page. Now, I don't provide an exact figure at this stage, but after reviewing the inquiry form and getting to know the business during the call, I can give a ballpark range. Now, this just ensures that I'm not wasting my time. So after the discovery call, I have all the necessary information to create a customized project proposal using another pre-made template, of course. Now, this proposal effectively communicates my solutions and reinforces the key points discussed during the call. Now, this just demonstrates to the prospect that I understand their needs and how my services can help. Now, the proposal also includes essential details such as the project timeline, deliverables, and investment requirements. I find that this approach is a great way to differentiate myself from others. If the prospect has contacted multiple designers for quotes, and I'm the only one that sends a tailored and professional proposal that speaks to the problems that they're facing, who do you think they'll choose? This is exactly how I build trust and lay the groundwork for a memorable client experience. So now we're on to stage 2 of the process, onboarding. Now, this is where things can start to get messy if you're not careful. Now, instead of sending a long email, I use a project management system to onboard the client. Now, this just prevents overwhelm and confusion for the client, as it reduces the need for lengthy emails listing out all of their tasks. Instead, it provides all the necessary information in a structured, engaging, and organized project hub. See what I did there? So this system holds everything from invoices, contracts, project presentations, client feedback, and more. It not only helps with project organization, but also increases client engagement, as it includes a project overview table that shows the client a timeline of the project, an interactive to-do list for the client to complete, and clear step-by-step instructions on their duties, making them feel just as much as part of the project as you are. Now, once the client is onboarded, it's time for stage 3 of the process, brand strategy. This is where the top brand designers separate themselves from the rest. Because without strategy, a visual identity is nothing more than a logo, a few fonts, and a color palette to a business. But with strategy, the visual identity becomes the driving force behind building brand awareness, sales, and identifying the business as a unique player in its industry. And as you might have guessed, businesses are willing to pay a lot of money for this service. So during this stage, I first have a strategy call with the client, which involves a deep dive into their business to understand their values, target audience, competitors, and desired design direction. Now, armed with all this information, I then conduct my own in-depth analysis and research into the brand and industry as a whole. Now, this research consists of 2 areas. Brand foundations, which involves deep dive into the details that the client provided during the strategy call to clearly identify the brand's mission, vision, values, and purpose. and then brand positioning, which involves putting my detective hat on and conducting thorough research into the business's target audience and competitors in order to identify a competitive advantage. The findings from this research are then presented in a strategy presentation. Yes, I use another template for this. This stage of the client process not only helps me generate design ideas, but also creates a strategy with action points going forward for the client's business. Then in stage 4, it's time to put all of this information to use and develop a strategic creative direction for the brand's visual identity. So based on the findings and analysis conducted during the strategy stage, I create a strategically supportive creative direction for the visual identity. Now, this stage includes the creation of 2 mood boards that will be presented to the client along with the strategy developed in stage 3. Now, this will allow the client to understand the thought process behind the decisions made. Now, by presenting 2 mood boards, the client will have the final say in selecting the creative direction for their brand. This just ensures that both parties are aligned with the design direction and helps avoid any potential misunderstandings in the future. Now, after preparing the strategy and creative direction presentation, my next step is to upload it into the project management system, aka the Project Hub, aka the client portal, for the client to review before moving on to the next stage of the process. However, during this stage, I don't just simply ask for feedback. Instead, I ask specific questions. Now, this approach ensures that the feedback I receive is actually useful, enabling me to make any necessary adjustments based on their input. Now, once the client signs off the direction of the brand, it's time to move on to stage 5, which is every designer's favorite stage, the design stage. Now, here I take all the insights gained from the previous 2 stages and design the brand's visual identity. Now, this includes 6 key elements: the logo suite, design assets, color palette, font pairings, photography style, and mockups. When it comes to the design process, everyone's approach will be slightly different. There is no right way to do it. Take me as an example. I personally don't have a sketching stage because my drawing skills aren't the best and don't find it beneficial. However, I know other brand designers who swear by it. So it's important to remember it's all about finding what works best for you. With that said, instead of describing my design process and what I do, I'm going to highlight a few things that you could potentially implement if you aren't already doing so. So first, I design the logo suite and design assets in black and white, and only once the final concept is finalized do I add color. Now, this allows me to evaluate the readability and legibility of the designs better. Second, I always customize a logo type and do so not with a drawing tablet, but just a mouse, which often gets me a few funny looks when I tell people. And third, my entire design process is based on the one concept method. So while I may create multiple concepts during the stage, I only present the strongest concept to the client. Now, this approach helps avoid paralysis by analysis, similar to the experience we all have when choosing something to watch on Netflix. Now, once I have designed and refined a concept that I believe best aligns with the brand, I move on to the next stage of the process, presenting the visual identity to the client. During this stage, I put together a presentation where I showcase the concept I've created and provide context on each of my design decisions, explaining how they relate to the brand strategy. Oh, and in case you haven't guessed already, this presentation utilizes a pre-made template. Got to make sure I'm hitting that SEO criteria. Then once the brand presentation is ready for the client to review, it's uploaded into the client portal. Now, alongside the presentation, question prompts are provided to ensure optimal feedback. Then based on the client's feedback, I will assess whether a call is necessary to further discuss any requested changes. Now, since adopting the one concept method, I have noticed a significant increase in the percentage of clients who approve the design without major revisions. Now, in my early days as a designer, when I presented multiple concepts, I often received requests to combine elements from each concept. Now, this resulted in a final visual identity that lacked cohesiveness and felt disjointed. Now, once the amends have been done and the client has signed off on the concept, it's time to move on to the next stage of the client process. But before we continue, if you're someone who has never adopted the one concept method, whether due to skepticism or simply because you haven't heard of it, let me quickly explain why it's made such a positive impact on my design business. So first, adopting the one concept method has allowed me to have more time to develop my ideas and concept. This focused approach has resulted in a stronger visual identity as I'm able to dedicate my efforts and time to a single concept. Second, this method reduces confusion and overwhelm for the client, leading to more concise feedback. Third, It's resulted in fewer revisions since the focus is on refining and perfecting one concept rather than trying to combine elements from multiple designs. And then finally, my credibility has increased with clients because they feel assured that I've created a well thought out and strategic solution. With that being said, it's time to move on to the final stage of the client process, which is offboarding. Now, there's nothing quite like the rush of excitement you feel when the client gives you the green light and signs off the project. However, the work is not yet complete. Similar to how restaurants don't immediately kick you out the door after you've finished your meal, but instead provide you with mints and a hot towel if you're lucky, we must do the design equivalent. So this ensures a smooth offboarding process for the client, setting their brand up for success and leaving a lasting impression. Fortunately, the client portal has a dedicated section for this, making it simple and hassle-free. But before offboarding the client, there's two things to do. First, export and package up all of the visual identity files. And second, create the brand guidelines document. Now, this document serves as a toolkit to educate the client on maintaining brand consistency. It also helps the client avoid misusing their visual identity by providing guidance on fonts, colors, and other elements. Alongside this guide, I also create a condensed one-sheet guideline that provides a snapshot of their visual identity, showcasing the logos, colors, and fonts used within the brand. This way, the client doesn't have to go through a 30+ page document just to find what they need. So once I've done those two things, it was time to head over to the client portal and offboard this client. So first, I uploaded the project files to the designated area. You can also see here that I provide a quick breakdown of the file types for the client. Next, I uploaded the goodbye packet. This is a document that I've only ever needed to create once, but provide to all of my clients. So this provides additional information about their files, guidance on working with me in the future, and a referral scheme. And then finally, I provided the client with links to purchase the fonts I used in the creation of their brand's visual identity. Some designers purchase them on behalf of the client and hand over the licensing at this stage, but I prefer to let the client do this themselves so they can deal with the renewals in the future. So once everything is uploaded into the client portal, next I wrap up the project with an offboarding call. Now, I like to have an offboarding call because it provides a great opportunity to gather feedback on the project as a whole and address any questions the client may have about their new brand identity. Now, it also presents a chance to upsell and secure additional work in the future, such as creating packaging or social media templates. And there you have it, my full client process. Oh, no, it's not. I must have been reading off the gatekeeping version, and we don't do that around here. It turns out there's actually one more step, and it happens to be really important in helping you make more money as a brand designer. So, everyone, I present to you Stage 8, the post-launch follow-up. Now, although the project may be complete, there is still work to be done in terms of client communication. So about a month after the client has launched their brand identity, I reach out to them to conduct a post-launch follow-up. This involves sending them a questionnaire to assess how their new brand identity has impacted their business. Now, I do this not only to show the client I care about them and their results, but also to track the impact of my work and use the results in my future marketing efforts. Being able to share tangible results helps differentiate my offering to prospects from other designers who often focus solely on their design work. And if you want to attract higher paying clients, it's important to understand that they are not just interested in high quality brand design services, they want to know the results those services can deliver. And sharing evidence of past client success stories can greatly help demonstrate the value you provide. Now, what I've shared in this video is just an overview of the client process. If you want to delve deeper and truly understand what goes into creating a great process, then a good starting point would be enrolling in my free course on how to onboard a client for project success. Don't waste any time and click the link in the description to start improving your process today.
That's just my baby dog.